Hi, everyone. Andrew and I were just having a chat before we sat down to record this. And one of the things that's been coming up for me over this last week is the word freedom. So, in the work that I'm doing in the being profile and being mastery and things like that, the distinction, and I'll read it from the book actually, the distinction that they give to freedom is living life from the viewpoint that you always have options. It is your capacity to choose to be, do, say, feel, and think whatever you wish without being controlled, coerced, constrained, or limited by unwanted external forces, while also accepting consequences of whatever those decisions are. And that relates back to a couple of the past episodes where we talked about, it's being with yourself and the inner self that raises whatever you want to call it, your vibration, frequencies, anything. When you're just the feeling of yourself, and seems to attract different things. And to me, particularly in this last week, that's come to the fore, and I felt freer, and even my interactions with different people have felt different. Um, and when I keep looking back at what's going on here, I feel less attached to those external conversations in the way that it's going to affect me, because I'm feeling better in myself and in a whole different a lot of different ways.
So if you can describe then for everyone, when we talk about the inner being and that inner self, what part of you is that?
It's a whole body being. It's a whole body feel. It's not. We've talked about trapped emotions before. It's not something like that. It's just like you can breathe easier, and things just don't seem to be as much of a struggle as they can be. Yeah, and interactions just turn out a different way to what you might have thought they would be previously. Yeah.
I think it's because I think we've talked about this a lot, but I'm conscious that we can define it in a way that people may find it for themselves, because I think each person finds this sense of being differently within themselves, but it's always a within. So if you could imagine that I'll just describe it for me, and then you can go, it might be different to you.
Sure.
It's the same for me. It's an inner body feeling. But if you could imagine that there's almost electricity that runs through your body, right? And a vibratory energy that animates your body, that's constant. That if you aren't fixated on something in the external world and you can sit within your body, you can almost feel this energy running through your body. And that for me is a sense of being. Now, when you are engaged in the world doing something, like if you're literally concentrating on cutting vegetables or running a podcast or acting in or doing something that you're actually concentrating on, you'll become momentarily unaware of what that being feeling is. But as soon as that recedes, your concentration recedes, you can then become aware of that sensation within your body. Now, when we talk about being, what we're describing is that with your attention and your sense of identity, you can believe that you are more that than you are the external world. All the relationships that maybe are going well or not going well, all the problems, all the things, all the thinking stream about the fact that you define yourself in that world, right? Because the world of the outside is always a series of ups and downs and things going on. And the way I connect this to this from the heart is that increasingly I have been doing braver things. So braver things in my work, braver risks in the things I'm saying, braver risks in relationships of sort of saying, this is not what I want, and articulating that to other people. And the reason I've been able to do that is because for me, that sense of my inner being doesn't change. It is consistently a sense and a source of being whole of content, of being neutral inside of me. So knowing that that's always going to be there and I'm going to be okay, I can take greater risks in the external world, aligned with who I'm being. And don't get me wrong, not being a dick about it, like genuinely being authentic to the things I want.
Yeah.
Knowing that sense of being is complete and whole.
Yeah, and that's where the freedom, what I call freedom, comes up for me, is that we've done this in all the previous episodes, in particularly in stage one, where we were coming out of survival mode, if you want, of things that we were struggling to actually make sense of, because we were trying to influence the external world. When we started to then work through our inner selves, things became clearer, and some of a lot of the things didn't go away. They just weren't as a big an influence on us. So that's what's giving me the freedom. But added to that, it's the hard work that we're doing around the things that we want to work on for ourselves, like you say, authenticity, courage, whatever it is, compassion, any of those sorts of ways of being. And it is continual. It's yeah. The thing that's turning up and making me feel freer is that when these hard things turn up, they're easier to deal with. That's the freedom. It's not the freedom that nothing happens to you. That's never going to be the case.
That's not a human
life.
It's
yeah, exactly. It's all about these things that turn up in your life from time to time, or all the time if you're going through a really tough spot. There's different ways of dealing with that, from looking internally and trying to be in this particular way that you want to be. And that's what makes me feel lighter. Yeah.
I think the other thing about feeling lighter, I think, is that I think I genuinely also feel lighter because a lot of the stuff I was carrying is released. And same for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's probably more to release, but it feels like the heaviness of carrying an expectation or a belief system or a conditioned belief system that my life had to be a certain way, and all the, I don't know, fear, doubt, judgment, I guess, of myself has transmuted into complete self-acceptance of that inner being. And I think if any of you are watching and you're in a place in your life where you're sad or lonely, or, you know, the external world has created a set of circumstances that make you feel bad, all I can say is I feel for you, and it is the start of something great, because what it gets you to do is to realize, to disconnect from some of that outside stuff and to realize, to work out who you are within yourself and to accept yourself. And I don't think I've ever met anyone, and we've met a lot of people who've been through difficult things probably over the last couple of years, just because of the crowd we're with. But I've seen most of those people who have been through difficult things come out the other side with a greater appreciation of who they are as a person, and for that and a wholer version of themselves. So I think that's something to be celebrated, and I think that's part of the journey, because as you disconnect from something painful on the outside, it gets you to recognize and work out who you are on the inside, and that ultimately then changes the outside.
Yeah, it does.
Again,
absolutely.
For you, right? Yeah. That's the kind of the cycle.
Yeah, and that's turned up for me, particularly over the last week or two, in that I've had conversations with people online, colleagues and other facilitators along the way, and other people, and I'm more animated. I feel more alive, and they're like, what's going on with you? And it's like, well, I'm just working through stuff, and but I'm feeling lighter about it. I'm feeling that I can actually handle the challenges a little easier as well. Yeah,
that life presents.
Yeah.
So I think there's probably not much more to say than what we've covered. I think the summary is that through understanding yourself within yourself, that's who you are, and that understanding that you can disconnect at some level from the external reality and get to know yourself and accept yourself within, regardless of what happens in the external circumstances. That's true freedom. And when you get to that place, it actually then creates the external reality that reflects where you are inside.
Yeah, and it's also choosing who you want to be. That's right. You're not like, okay, so I'm going to be this, and it's going to come to me. I'm actually being really authentic in what I want to choose and put my intentions out there.
Yeah.
And then you work on those things, and that's what brings the changes in the external world to you.
I'm a little different. I'm quite neutral about who I'm choosing to be. I know I'm a whole person in there, and I'm just willing to allow that to reflect it. I'm like almost curious about what that will create. I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's sort of, you're just going with what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And I've had that as well. And I've said this to you today. It's like, things have changed for me in lots of different ways, and it's like, okay, that's not impacting my life anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas before it'd be, oh, maybe I should be doing this, or overthinking it even.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's cool. Let's do that. And there's a freedom in that. It's just like, okay, I don't have to spend all this time analyzing, overthinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hope that's been useful. Talk to you soon.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye.